Hey everybody, before we get started, I just remind you this episode brought to you by patrons like Adam the Harp, Aka Comics, Architect 10, Blacklist G, Carlos, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kessler, Rogue Robin, Shawnee P, Some Guy Named Bob, Soda's on 0424, 723, and Zach Reed. If you like what we do want to see more, consider supporting Patreon and get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies. It helps us out. Thanks for your support, everybody. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk FGO Wanted, the show where we let you know if you want a roll of 5-star, or maybe some other stuff, but it is a 5-star today. Hey, how you doing? Sorry, had to jump in there with big energy, because if I let there be too much gap, we'll get a complaint, and you'll lose the Wanted song, and that would be very sad. Is my volume a little low? Let me adjust my microphone up slightly. That'll be a squeak noise. But I got it. It's fine. Hi. Welcome to, as we said, FGO Wanted. This is a show where we break stuff down about a new unit. In this case, it's actually a 5-star. We're going to do it in 4 parts. We're going to talk about their real-life history. We're going to talk about their lore with a capital L. We're going to talk about their mechanics, and we're going to talk about their rarity. Not their star rarity, though that sometimes is in question here. But we will talk about their frequency of banners. Though we're talking about a permanent today. Yay! A permanent 5-star Berserker. So you could always be spooked. So keep that in mind. And yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Xiang Yu. And just saying that means that before we even do anything, I got to do a little bit of a note here. Especially in this first bit, there's going to be a lot of Chinese names. I'm sorry, okay? I'm going to do bad. I'm not good at the pronunciation. It's not my fault, okay? It's the fault of whatever animal person or people, savage animal idiots, did the transliteration of Chinese phonemes into English letters. And they throw a lot of weird shit like different vowel combinations and X's and Q's and stuff in there, and I'm just like, I don't know why you did that. And it makes it a real pain in the butt to read them, because I'm like, what's this X doing here? So, yeah. It means I am horribly disserviced by being able to read, and it means that I will do a terrible disservice to the actual pronunciation of this language. But we will attempt. So, well, with that little notation out of the way, we should probably go ahead and jump into it, shouldn't we? All right. So I'm not an expert, but hold on. I got some notes from an outside scholar. Let's dig through some of these pages here. All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. If I could make a sound of adjusting glasses, I would. Just roll it in there. All right. So Xiang Yu. Keeping in mind, by the way, that's much like Japanese. This is family name first. He lived in the I guess we'd say late BCs. In the 200s BC in China. He was a noble of the state of Chu and rebelled against the Qin dynasty. By the way, I'm on Wikipedia, and even though it's spelled with a Q, there's an alternate spelling that involves a ch, a ch, and an apostrophe. Every single one of that should be transliterated that way. The Chinese don't have a Q. That's not how that works. They have a letter that's not Q that makes that sound. Why did you make it a Q? Anyway, I'm done. I'm done doing those jokes unless I'm not. So, good old Xiang Yu, actually fairly famous and well respected. We can cut to the end, funnily enough, and basically talk about how he is a big deal guy, had a lot of prowess. In my notes, it says that he was a huge dude, apparently able to lift 1,000 pounds, supposedly, allegedly. So he a big guy, big strong man. So he had a lot of prowess as a warrior, which made him famous. He was, called in other famous Chinese works, like The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, as an actual, powerful past figure. Been a subject of a lot of folk stories, novels, Chinese operas, appeared on TV a lot, films, in other video games, stuff like that. So, fairly notable. He was titled Duke of Lu, and eventually, after Qin fell, he was called the Hegemon-King of Western Chu, and was a pretty powerful warlord, okay? So strong dude, had a big area, did some stuff, pretty notable, and honestly, this is a problem with military historical figures. A lot of people like to dissect all the battles. We're not going to do, a blow-by-blow here, but there was some decent, respect there. Though Xiang Yu was also famous for doing a lot of murdering. killing his enemies down to the man and stuff. Pretty important things. I think the key things you need to know, though, was that he had a girlfriend, known as Consort Yu. This is waifu, who will be a unit appearing later. So that's fun, getting these relationships. And that got him in trouble when he was later involved in the Chu-Han contention, a later military conflict, where basically she got captured and distracted. He had to go and handle that, and then got ambushed a lot. Had a lot of unfortunate situations, and there was a lot of concern over the state of Western Chu. His army was demoralized, and rather than be, a distraction, Consort Yu, supposedly took her own life, and then that really broke his spirit, so he composed a famous song, and then also died, where he's got a tomb. So, yeah, there's a lot of, tragedy, conquest, other big action going on. He's not necessarily a role model in Chinese history, especially because Confucianism was big on benevolence, at least according to these notes I've got in other places. But definitely a famous figure, like I said, enough to get some stuff. You got the tragedy, all that stuff. I can't even, by the way, pronounce the actual letter of this, but it's called the Hegemon's Lament. So, there's a whole song he composed about that stuff. Yeah, crazy. Source of an idiom, I believe. Has courage but lacks tactics. So, yeah, he was a big, strong, tough guy. Maybe not the smartest, most strategical, but he did stuff. Makes him a good pick for a servant. So, let's jump into the lore. I know you got a burning question, right? Why is he a giant clockwork centaur souls-born man? How's the way to handle this? Well, let's just say that a decent chunk of those details are upcoming. While he is permanent, there's still going to be some Lost Belt influence on his character, and basically a lot of the physical appearance is drawn from his connection to Lost Belt 3, which we'll be getting shortly, hence why I'm doing a wanted. It does not necessarily reflect on the normal pan-human history, Xiang Yu, but for fate reasons, we don't want to design a character twice, basically. Unless we do. So, like I said, even his normal summonable form is influenced by whatever weirdness, no spoilers, is going on in Lost Belt 3 that does in fact make him a giant robot centaur man with 4 arms. Neat, huh? Anyway, yeah, he looks like a friggin' Dark Souls boss. Other than that little tidbit, there's not really a lot special. I mean, there is, but all of it's spoilers. He will be fairly heavily tied into Lost Belt 3, and will show up occasionally in some other notes, right? He will be alluded to or appear as a bonus servant in a couple of future events. Mostly just hang out on that permanent list, though. And that's really where we are with that. There's not a lot to go into with the lore that's extra special besides that very obvious big deal thing. And he is a character first introduced in FGO and will go on to make a story appearance. So look forward to that. All right, let's switch over to mechanics. All right, mechanics. So our large and in charge centaur man is a berserker, obviously. Said that earlier. He is permanent, and he is an AoE. Speaking of his NP, by the way, I should apologize. I'm sorry. You can see it on screen now, but the site I usually use to pull this information from, and then I reorganize it into a lovely little chart, because I'm lazy and not good at graphical design, no matter how much I want to be. And I don't want to spend hours trying to make something work super well. But they've glitched out and don't have his NP name listed. It's okay. I couldn't have pronounced it anyway, even if they did. I expect they'll probably just go for the transliterated title, but I'm very curious to see what the English does, what FGO USA does for it. But the mechanics are all there. You don't need to know about that other stuff. Just, keep that in mind. So, he's a berserker. We already said that, 3 times. And Xiang Yu's stats are sandwiched firmly between Raiko and Arjunalter in terms of attack. They're both pretty good AoEs. And he has also is basically sandwiched between them for terms of HP as well. Arjunalter has very slightly more HP, which seems a little unfair. And Raiko has very slightly less HP. Though with HP, he is tied in terms of Vlad. Not that that matters because you don't necessarily use them the same way. So, this is a very interesting thing to look at. So, I think the best way to approach this is to say that roughly kind of stats and capability-wise, Xiang Yu is kind of like a 5-star Zergalot. Alright, he has a quick NP, you can see that obviously, we'll talk more about what that does in a second, but he still has a Gorilla deck, Buster, 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 with decent hit counts, big hits on the extra, with a 6-hit quick card and a 4-hit arts card, which means that if he does actually use those cards at 0.51 NP gen, he's probably going to generate a decent amount of NP, though obviously, because he has a quick NP that has a number of hits, you know, not like the mostest hits, but a number, right, that he will likely be used with some sort of Scotty-like system, though I will say his NP only does have 5 hits, so it's not as crazy as, like, Zerxalot can do, but it's a similar stratagem. For those of you who are of a more Buster Persuasion, obviously, Xiang Yu is going to be very relevant right now, very meta-relevant if you're already a Scotty-type player, but do expect early next year to get Arjunalter, who is a big Buster boy, and Raiko will get some buffs. Anyway, let's talk about his NP in specifics. It's an AoE, it is only 5 hits compared to, say, Zergalot's 10, but, you know, higher attack and all that stuff. Deals big damage to enemies, increases his own NP damage before it pops. Pretty standard stuff. He's a Berserker, even if it's quick, it's got a big damage multiplier, he has a pretty strong damage. It's going to do some work, right? So, you know, fairly decent spread, will synergize well with some stuff. So, let's talk about his active skills. He's got Foresight. This gives him a 1 turn of Evade and increases his critical strength by a standard 30 to 50% for 1 turn. Pretty decent deal. He's got a, you know, hard defenses are not necessarily common on Berserkers, and unlike, say, Raiko, while this is a damage steroid, it's an anytime damage steroid, not just an NP turn. And in fact, if you've got 3 cards and you've got enough stars, Xiang Yu might want to use this on a turn that's not his NP turn. But it is still on a damage buff, so that can be a little awkward to use that. And I will note already, yeah, he does have an Interlude coming. After you do his Interlude, his skill will be upgraded. So this increases the critical strength it does to the big boy 50 to 100%, which is a little bit more balanced for a 1-turn buff. And it also gives him that sweet, sweet, big Star Absorb buff. So he, despite being a Berserker who, as we know, have a pathetic Star Absorb normally, will have a big star weight buff, so he will slurp up all those stars and do double damage with them if the skill is at full. And he gets an evade out of it. Again, little awkward still, but worth it for some stuff. Second skill, Tactical Skeleton. This is a pretty standard 3-turn double card buff, so it's only 20 to 30% on Quick and Buster, but it gives him another 30 to 50% critical up. So even before his Interlude comes out, you're looking at a potential 1-turn 100% critical buff. And also, it just means that you should feel safer popping that evade, because if you've got his second skill, you've already got the critical strength anyway, and it can be better. But this really helps swing your NP turn, because you're probably going to do, like, NPQB or NPBB if you're trying to do damage. You might go NPQA, right, if you're trying to get refund, but that really depends on your deck. So this can really help you out, and it lasts a couple of turns, so you've got some follow-through. You can use it as an NP steroid 1 turn, and then still use it when you switch to Busters after that quick drop for some big, gnarly crit hits. And his final skill gives him stars per turn. Pretty basic stuff. 3 turns of stars per turn, 5 to 10. But it also gives him Ignore Invincible for 3 turns, which is great. Piercing is a great effect. I don't know how many Berserkers have it right now. And so that gives him yet another fun thing he can do. Fighting an enemy with a lot of hard defenses. Well, he's got a 3-turn way to remove it, and he slaps pretty hard. He'll get in there. So, yeah, it's not, you know, quite like I said, not exactly like a Zergalot, but it's a similar type kit, and a lot of Berserkers have this too. He does the big star gather up after that Interlude. He has a lot of ways to buff his crits, and he has a couple of damage mods. You know, we'll talk about team comps in a second, but supply him with some generic boosters. He'll get a very decent damage spread. He can generate stars pretty decently, because he's got a 6-hit quick normally, and his 5-hit quick NP, which is on everybody. If you actually pop those cards, you should be generating some stars on your own that way, and you can absorb them back up. His only passive is, you know, you think this is Madness Enhancement, but no, it's more like Evil Enhancement or Bad Juju Enhancement. We'll have to see what the official transliteration is, but the translation I'm looking at is Evil Enhancement A+. So it's a Buster card buff, but it's not as good as, say, an MEA+. It's only 8%, but it does also give him a flat 8% critical, so it combines some independent action effect in there. So it'll decently enhance his passive damage mods. All in all, a good package. Now let's talk about that stuff we do, because this is actually important with a new servant. If you look at his Ascension items, I moved it because I had the free space. And his skill reinforcement, you will notice 2 new items. I don't know exactly what those will be called, but in the current translation, they're called Daybreak Cores. That is your new mat for Lost Belt 3, one of them anyway. So you will need 8 of them to even ascend him to his final ascension, along with a very big blob of gunpowder. And you will need 15 of them per skill to get to level 9. He also needs giant rings and more gunpowder, obviously. So, this is definitely going to be one that, depending on where you're at with your skill items, you know, rings are still pretty new and were pretty important for several key Lost Belt 2 characters. Gunpowders were only introduced this year and have been used a lot since then, and obviously they're a bronze mat, so he needs a lot, and he needs a lot of a brand new mat, which is gold rank, so you may or may not be getting them. So yeah, he might be a little intense in your mats. Keep that in mind if you're rolling for him, or if you get spooked by him and you're trying to budget your time. It might be a little resource intense. So let's talk the standard comp stuff. Well, obviously, while it's not as many hits as people like, because if you do the dual Scotty system, you want a lot of hits so you can get extra overkill damage in. This guy has no NP battery on his own whatsoever. So there's no point in slapping him with like a 50% charge unless you've only got one Scotty somehow. Or you're using a different system. Waver obviously works. That damage plus and just straight up damage increase will be good. Plus, that gives him another crit buff, which he will enjoy on some of those turns. So Waver can be a decent mix in there. But you can definitely team comp him with the dual Scotty and see if it works as well if you don't have a Lancelot with a sufficient level of extra NPs. Obviously, that's not necessarily very newbie-friendly. That can require a lot of work. You probably want his skills at a decent ratio so he can get his NP damage up. You might want multiple NP levels. I don't know the math exactly. There's a lot of complex math on this that I don't really get, but anyway. Even so, Scotty and any of the other quick supporters, such as they are, is the go-to flow for Xiang Yu. However, he still does have 3 Buster cards, and he is mostly about crits, so generic crit support and Buster support will also do good. If you only have a Merlin, you can work around the fact that his NP is quick. It's AoE anyway. You're probably going to be doing more damage on a single target basis with some fat, Buster Brave Chain crits. Other than that, it's basically any semi-supports. He does unfortunately have, no support capability on his own, so you will be using him probably mostly to sweep waves and then build to probably a follow-up turn with crits, even if you're not looping. You could always go for the Arash Scotty strat and then hope that you generate enough stars so that when you go to the boss round, you can just hopefully do a Buster Brave Chain, big crit, get in there kind of thing, especially useful after that interlude that comes out later. So that's really what you're going to do. He doesn't really support anybody. All of his skills are semi-selfish. Obviously, stars per turn can go to other people when you're not doing his star weight buff, but it's still there. So you're going to probably focus on doing some damage. Works out. CEs, well, I think the obvious thing is, 1, he's a Berserker, so any sort of star weight CE can be appreciated, especially if it also buffs crits. He will be doing a lot of crit himself, so critical damage is important. You could go with generic Buster or Quick cards to amplify his NP. Probably get more mileage out of Buster, though, because he's got 3 of those, as opposed to 2 total Quick cards, including his NP card. You could also go for a raw NP damage up if that's more your speed. I would say probably focus, though, on the weight and the crit. And if you wanted to, hedge your bets, I guess you could try NP game, but that's probably not a good strategy. I would say focus on the fact that you're probably going to be critting, and use battery chargers. And the fact that he's got, crazy high hit counts for the most part to try and, leverage an AQB or an ABQ or something with that extra to generate your NP, along with some batteries. And, yeah, okay, I think that's all the mechanical stuff. Let's check out that rarity. So, as I said before, Xiang Yu is permanent. He has a rate-up in the release campaign, the release belt for, release banner for Lost Belt 3, Sin. In White Day stuff, he will come up 2 future White Days, called the Always Collection. Also, at 4th anniversary, he's got a rate-up. And there's going to be that swimsuit and AoE campaign. He is an AoE enemy. So there's that. And when his Interlude gets released, Interlude Campaign Part 12, that'll be early next year, he will be on a banner for that because it includes his Interlude. Oh, wait, no. Not early next year. Early 2 years from now. Sorry, missed the date. That's 2020. Okay. So, a little over a year from now. Like a full year. Over 365 days. Anyway, yeah, sorry about that. Missed my date time. So, yeah, that's a little ways out to get that Interlude buff, but that will also come with a banner for him if you're trying. And like I said, he is permanent. While we don't count on permanent spooks here at Studio Omega, they do happen a decent amount of time. So, be watchful of those things. And we'll see what happens. Okay, alright. I think that's everything. Had a decently put together Wanted. We're going to try and do some interesting stuff for the next Wanted. We'll see how that turns out, everybody. Am I getting quieter? Hopefully my audio levels are all balanced out. It's not always clear from the old sound waivers when I'm not yelling. And if my voice shifted pitch, that's because I tilted my screen to stare intently at the sound waves. Anywho's, yeah, that's gonna wrap this up. Shout out to Dallas, one of our Discord mods, who helped me pull together some notes for this. I didn't read all of them, but I skimmed them for some stuff, got some juicy details in there. And if you want to talk more about Xiang Yu, join our Discord. I'm sure he'll draw at you about it and any other China-related things. And, yeah, okay. So we got a Future Wanted coming up. Be sure to stay tuned for a future or past Let's Talk FGO whenever this goes up. As usual with Wanted, I'm shooting it a few days ahead of time, so I have plenty of wiggle room when they do some weird shit to me. But stay tuned to a once or future Let's Talk FGO for a Lost Belt 3 pregame, where I'm sure we'll talk about some interesting upcoming fights and whatnots and what will be in them. A lot of people were very sassy about Lost Belt 3 when it came out, so keep an eye out for that. And stay tuned for any future news from the channel, more Wanteds and everything. All right, I think that will finally finish out the show. Remember to give this video a like if you liked it. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section down below. Join our Discord, link in the description as normal. Of course, if you're new here and haven't already, please subscribe to our channel so you can always get more videos like Let's Talk FGO Wanted and our podcast, Let's Talk FGO. And even if you're already subscribed, consider hitting that bell for notifications so you always know when we post a new video. Like if they drop a banner on me at midnight and I have to post a Wonder really quick. It's very helpful if you got those notes on. Lets you know. Yeah, I think that's everything other than to let you guys know that also we do have a Patreon, mentioned at the top of the show. And if you support us on there, you could have gotten access to this video early, probably several days early at this rate, and some other interesting things going on. And it really helps support us, and keeps us alive even when the ad rev don't. Soz. I'm going to let it go here. Good luck with your giant horseman. There's a lot of jokes I could make, but won't. And I'll see you in the next Wanted. All right, goodbye, everybody. Have fun. Good luck in Lost Belt 3.